Hey there, folks. So, last episode, we ended off having made some code changes to account for the way I'm wanting to do the equipment slots on the character. Now, with that, just running over some of the changes we made. First one, which is one that we're causing some build errors, is we added in the weapon left, weapon right. And that caused some build errors because there was a few places we were referencing just equipment slot weapon. Over and above that, we added in functionality to item base, to the item base class, which was just to set the index so that it was actually stored on the item. And we've got that stored up here, inventory index of -1. Now, the reason for that is -1 is not a valid index, so it was going to cause issues if it's not, like, set properly. We went through in the inventory component, we added in a new function for reassign inventory indexes. It's just a simple for loop that just assigns it from 0 to 1. And that's for when we add or remove items to our inventory, we need to update those index references. Now, again, this is based off of the fact that the way I'm doing inventory is I'm trying to make it similar to the approach of you can throw items in your backpack and it just piles on top. And then, so as you add items without any care, it's always going to be the top item in the list. You can also add items to a specific point. And that is here where we have our insert. And then, actually just noticing that this is wrong. If index is greater than the number, index equals that. Yeah, it should be a -1. Because num is always going to be a value of 1 plus, and indexes start at 0. No, we do want that. Sorry, because we're adding it at the end. Sorry, yeah. Anyways, so we added that in. And then in our inventory component, we added in this map here, which is equipped item, equipped items, which is a TEnum as byte, E equipment slot, subclass of the U item base. And the reason for using the equipment slot as the key, if we take a look at that, that means we can only have one item in our head slot, one item in our torso slot, one item in our hands, so on and so forth. Like on our hands, on our legs, one in our weapon left, one in our weapon right, one backpack, so on and so forth. And from that, if we go back to our inventory component source file, and we look at our equip item, we've got reassign index there, equip item at index, you can see we're going through, if we are equipping an item, and we already have an item in that slot, we're saying remove the item in that slot first. And then that's going to go through and adjust based on the item. Going through, we can actually change this. This is one of the things I noted when I was editing the video. We don't need to do that. Sorry, I need to put that in the brackets. Sorry. So if we're equipping an item and we're removing it, we need to go through and say we need to equipped items dot add this slot, and then putting in the index, or the item, sorry. And what this is going to do is we're going to remove the item. Now you notice in here, and I'll cover this in more details in a moment here, we're not removing it yet. We're adding it in, we're removing it, we're removing the item by unequipping it. So this is coming through as false. Equipment item base. Setting is equipped as false. So this, we're never going to hit this. And then if it's a clothing item, we're going to remove all the protection, thermal insulation, things like that. Obviously, we need to go through and do that for our weapons and everything else. Sorry, my brain is still a little off today. What we're going to do here, though, is we're just going to null out the value. Now this is probably going to cause some bugs, but we're going to test through all of this. That's really what this episode is going to be about, is we're going to be debugging and stepping through this code. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pause the recording while the engine builds. We're going to go through and take a look, make sure all of this is working as intended. So I'll be back once we are in the editor. All right, so we are back in the editor here. First thing I want to do, though, just because we are testing the equipment stuff, come on, there we go, is we got our, down here somewhere, our little hat. I'm going to move this down closer to where we are, where the start is, which is down over here. The reason for this is I'm trying to avoid the wolf. And actually, I want to keep him on the map, but I want to also move him over here. Anyway, so let's play an editor. Okay, there's our hat. Physics isn't enabled, so pick up. F. E. That is not nice. Our shadow. Anyways, inventory, and we're going to go equip. And this should hit the breakpoint. There we go. Now, unfortunately, for some reason, my Visual Studio always locks up for like 30 seconds to a minute when I hit these breakpoints, and I don't know why. But it is getting a little frustrating. It's either my computer's been running too long, and I don't think I've turned it off or even restarted it in a couple months, or there's something else going on. But anyways, there we go. Okay, B, owner is character. None of that was false, or none of that triggered it to go in as equipable. Yep. May need to change some stuff up. Okay. Okay, yeah, that is yeah. Okay, I know what we need to do here. Else if not equal null pointer. Okay, I think that's what we need to do here. So what I'm going to do, again, I'm going to pause the video. I'll be back once we are in the editor. All right, so we are back in the editor. So let's give this another shot now that we've added that little bit of error handling code in there. Pick you up, open our inventory, equip that. Yes, I know, you're busy. Oh, I hate how Visual Studio does this, so I'm going to have to look into that and figure out what's going on. Now, anyways, while we wait, so as I've mentioned in previous episodes, I'm not overly happy with how this inventory and equipment system has turned out. This is where you can obviously tell I don't want to say new, but I'm not as experienced with an inventory system as I had hoped I would be with my many attempts in the past. So I may at some point end up ripping this out and redoing it. I'm not sure yet. But anyways, our breakpoint is now, or IntelliSense and everything is now working. So Skip through. Apparently it's locked up there. Okay, so we are equipping and we don't have anything in there. And here you can see we're using as equipment get slot multiple times, so going to need to address that. What? Okay, maybe that's access violation. Okay, so we're going to have to change this. Excuse me, to dot contains. And actually with that, we're using as equipment get slot type a lot. So we're going to put that up here. E equipment slot slot type equals, and this is just some basic refactoring. So we can replace that one and this one and this one, that one. Get rid of the null pointer because we don't need that. We need to add an extra closing bracket on there though. Okay, let's try this version of it, see if this works. So yet again, I'm going to pause the video and I will be back once we are in the editor again. All right, we're back in the editor again here. So let's give this a shot. Pick up inventory. So I did go through while waiting. I moved the breakpoint around just because all of this wasn't needed. We know this part is good, so. Now, for anyone observant, we have two checks. The reason being is this one is saying, are we equipping an item and we already have it in there? Remove it from that index. If we're not, or if we do have something in there but we're not equipping, it's the opposite of this basically. So else. Okay, so doing that there. Now we're missing this, but if we hit continue and we unequip, equipping is false. Oh yeah, we never added it, that's why. All right, so we got past that access error we've got there. So I know what we need to do. Sorry, that will move it, and then this needs to get moved down here. Is that, okay, so if we're equipping something, we've already got something there. Equip item at index, we're removing. This is just, we're removing it. No. So I'm trying to think, okay, so we're equipping something new and we've already got something. We're unequipping. not be equip, and then else. Believe this is going to be the setup we want for the initial equip. So for the umpteenth time this episode, I'm going to pause the video and I will be back once we are in the editor. Alright, so we are back in the editor yet again. We'll give this one more try. And this time around the physics on the hat actually dropped it to the ground. Okay. Pick that up, open the inventory, equip, and debug's going to hang up. Oh, yay. Oh, come on. But anyways, so I will use this time to do a brief update. I won't say update, but oh, there we go. So equip items should be null. Okay, we have one in there. Okay, continue that. We've got some broken logic with our mesh, because if we eject, you can see apparently it got rid of our leg mesh, but not our head mesh. So recontrol, unequip. So this is a false. That goes through equipment slots. That should now be, yep. Interesting. Inventory index is out of range. Is valid? No, there's not a valid. That's different. I don't like having to do this because it should be initialized as -1, but apparently I know what we're doing. It is this one. Okay, I don't want to leave it like this, but just for the purposes of going through and figuring out what's going on, right before each return, I'm going to do a reassign. Because I think it's this one. Because, yeah, this is where I wanted to use a pointer, and I think that's the issue. I might be able to... Yeah, it doesn't like that. Trying to think how we could do that. We could change this just int, and then would just be index, and that would be index. Let's see, is this going to explode now? Actually, no. Cancel. Okay, so I'm just trying to think. If we're equipping an item and we already have something in that slot, I'm going to do this a little differently. No, that's not going to work. So, what am I doing there? Leave that. Because you can't make that a pointer. Actually, let's try. I'm going to do a build, see if that implodes. Because really I want it to be a pointer. And soft pointers? Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, it failed because of that. Yeah. So actually, what I am going to do here, folks, I understand this is a shorter episode, and well, at this point, I'm sort of effectively saying I've screwed up the inventory system. But, well, in all honesty, that's pretty much what I've done. I need to take a little more time on the inventory stuff and the equipable items, because obviously you can tell from this, and this ultimately this is the whole point of this series, is this to not just show you, oh, do this, but it's also to try and give you some insight into the sort of struggles that can happen for somebody wanting to create a game, zero experience. Yes, I have programming experience, but I'm not a professional game developer. I need to spend a lot of my time digging into things. As a couple episodes back, found out, well, I have some bad habits. So, ultimately, though, to save me rattling on and repeating myself, I am going to end this episode off here. I know, again, it's a little bit of a shorter episode. I'm hoping between now and the next recording session, I can actually do some more in-depth analysis and design and investigation into what's going to be a good equipment system. Well, equipment and inventory system. And ultimately, that could be a case of we need another actor component. And from there, like, it would be like an equipment component, which is something we could throw on. And we can go from there. So, but as always, folks, any comments, questions, concerns, suggestions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. Or you can hop over onto Discord. I do respond on Discord quicker than YouTube, just because YouTube notifications are not the best when I get comments. But as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.